Welcome to another deep dive with My Mind MashUps. Today, we're really going to explore the world of symbols. It's pretty fascinating stuff. We'll be looking at, what they are, where they actually came from way back when, and how they kind of influence us, often without us even noticing.
Yeah, and we've pulled together a really great mix of sources for you today. We're covering like everything from the super ancient origins of symbolic communication all the way up to how they're used in, say, modern branding, and even the sort of deep psychological roots they have in just being human.
Exactly. So our mission today really is to unpack these big ideas and maybe reveal some of the surprising power these simple-looking symbols hold in, well, shaping how we see the world and ourselves.
And hey, if you enjoy digging into these kinds of topics, exploring how our minds work and all that, please do take a second to like, share, and subscribe, or follow My Mind Mashups wherever you listen.
Yeah, you can find us on Amazon Music, Audible, Facebook, Pocket Casts, Spotify, YouTube, basically everywhere. Your support really helps us keep doing these deep dives.
It really does.
Okay, so let's jump in. First things first. What are symbols exactly? They feel like more than just, pictures or words.
That's a great place to start. Fundamentally, you can think of symbols as cognitive shortcuts. They're like these neat little packages.
Yeah.
They condense really complex ideas into something easier to grasp.
Okay.
There's a whole field called semiotics that studies this stuff, the study of signs and sign systems. And it's useful to kind of distinguish between signs and symbols.
Right, okay. What's the main difference? Like a stop sign feels pretty symbolic, doesn't it?
It does, yeah, but technically that red octagon, that's acting more like a sign.
Yeah.
It has a direct, pretty much universally understood meaning. Stop the car. Symbols, on the other hand, tend to have more layers of meaning, often more abstract. Think of it like this. You've got iconic symbols that look like the thing they represent. The wheelchair icon is a classic example. Then you have indexical symbols where there's a direct link, like smoke meaning fire, or wet streets mean it rained.
Gotcha. Cause and effect.
Exactly. And then there are arbitrary symbols. These rely purely on us agreeing on the meaning. Language is the big one here.
Right. Words.
Words, yeah. Or even emojis. There's no real reason the letters CAT mean that furry thing, right? We just decided it does.
Huh. Emojis are a perfect example. We all just somehow know what the little thumbs up means instantly.
Precisely. And that highlights a key thing symbols do. They cut down our cognitive load. Our brains don't have to reason everything out from scratch. We see the symbol, and bam, we access the meaning we've already learned. Some researchers even talk about symbolic competence being like a real cognitive shortcut, helping us make decisions faster.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like mental shorthand.
So where did this all begin? It feels ancient.
Oh, well, it goes way, way back. Symbols were absolutely foundational for ancient societies, not just for basic communication, but deeply tied into spirituality, social structure, everything.
Like the cave paintings, those always seem so profoundly symbolic.
Yeah.
Cave art is a fantastic early example. Yeah, let's go, right? Around 17,000 years old, those incredible animal paintings, deep in the caves, likely had spiritual meaning, maybe trying to ensure good hunts, connect with animal spirits.
Wow.
But also maybe practical too, like teaching hunting strategies visually, passing down knowledge. It's fascinating to think they might have been trying to influence reality.
Like a prehistoric how-to guide mixed with a prayer. That's powerful.
It really is. And we have even older stuff. There's an engraved bone from Israel, maybe 120,000 years old, that might show a spiritual link between hunters and prey. And even further back, those geometric patterns at Blombos Caves in South Africa, like 70,000 to 100,000 years ago, maybe they were marking group identity, like this is ours.
So like proto-logos or something?
Sort of, yeah. And then, of course, you get the development of writing. That feels like a huge leap. Absolutely huge. Think about cuneiform in Mesopotamia, around 3,500 BCE. It started out super practical, keeping track of grain, economic records, but then it evolved for laws, literature, epic poems.
How did they start writing abstract stuff?
Well, a key step was the rebus principle, using a picture to represent a sound, like drawing an I to mean the sound I. That let them write down concepts like honor or justice that you can't just draw a picture of easily. It bridged the gap.
Okay, that's clever. And Egyptian hieroglyphics, they look incredibly symbolic.
Oh, definitely. Around 3,200 BCE. A complex mix of symbols for words and symbols for sounds. You see them all over tombs and temples, right? For prayers, spells for the afterlife. Very spiritual, but also political. Reinforcing the pharaoh's power. The crook and flail symbols, for instance, showing the pharaoh as shepherd and provider.
So symbols were for communicating with each other, but also like with the gods or the afterlife?
Exactly. And religious symbols often try to do just that, bridge the gap between us and the divine. Take the Ankh from ancient Egypt around 3150 BCE, the key of life. It symbolized eternal life, resurrection, cosmic balance, and interestingly, Coptic Christians later adopted it as a type of cross. Shows how symbols can travel and get reinterpreted but still hold deep meaning.
Wow, that's fascinating. What about the Om symbol? That feels both super ancient and very present today.
Totally. Om comes from Vedic traditions in India, maybe 1500 to 500 BCE. It's thought to be the primordial sound of the universe, the vibration of everything. It's central to meditation in Hinduism and Buddhism, helping focus the mind. And yeah, you see it everywhere now in mindfulness and wellness culture. It speaks to that ongoing human search for connection and peace.
It's amazing how these ancient images still resonate. Which brings us neatly to the psychology of it all. How do symbols actually work on our minds?
This is where it gets really interesting. Carl Jung's work is huge here. His ideas about archetypes and the collective unconscious. Jung basically proposed we all inherit this kind of universal psychological blueprint in the collective unconscious. And within it are these fundamental patterns or images, archetypes, like the hero, the mother, the shadow. Okay. These archetypes pop up in symbols across all cultures throughout history. They're like basic human themes expressed visually.
So, when we see a dove as a symbol of peace, is that tapping into something Jungian?
Jung would argue yes. He'd say it connects to something deeper than just learned association. It taps to our innate understanding of things like hope, tranquility, maybe even purity. It resonates psychologically.
That feels much deeper than just saying we all agreed it means peace, like there's something wired in.
Exactly. And we see this subconscious activation elsewhere too. Think about emojis again. Studies show seeing a smiley face emoji actually lights up the same brain areas as seeing a real human smile. It triggers this tiny, unconscious emotional mimicry.
No wonder they feel so immediate.
Right. And even simple gestures. Research suggests our emotional state can actually bias how we interpret symbolic gestures. If you're feeling angry, you might be slower to recognize a friendly, open gesture, for example.
So my mood can literally change how I see a symbol? That's a weird feedback loop.
It is. And then there's good old behavioral conditioning. Symbols work really well with associative learning. Go back to traffic lights. We comply, partly because we know the rules, sure, but also seeing others stop. That's social proof. And, the fear of getting a ticket or causing an accident.
Right, consequences.
And think about brands. Apple's Bitten Apple. Through years of marketing and cultural osmosis, it evokes innovation, design, maybe a certain status. It's conditioned.
It really feels like these symbols are constantly nudging our thoughts and actions without us even noticing most of the time.
Precisely. And this power gets even more intense when we look at esoteric knowledge in secret societies. They really lean into symbolism.
Ah, yes. The mysterious stuff. The all-seeing eye. Pyramids, pentagrams.
These are incredibly potent symbols, yeah. Often used in complex ways, encoding beliefs, creating group identity, sometimes claiming authority, takes the all-seeing eye, often in a triangle. In Freemasonry, it generally represents God's omnipresence, a reminder that thoughts and actions are observed. It kind of echoes the ancient Egyptian eye of Horus protection, cosmic order. For Masons, it's more about morality, self-awareness.
But then you get the conspiracy theories putting a totally different spin on it.
Exactly. In that context, especially linked with a pyramid, it's often twisted into a symbol of elite control, some shadowy group pulling the strings, which is funny because it also appeared on France's Declaration of the Rights of Man, symbolizing state vigilance. And neurologically, eye symbols can trigger really primal, instinctual responses in our brains.
So the same image can mean wildly different things depending on who's using it and how you interpret it. What about the pyramid itself? Another loaded one.
Absolutely. In Masonry, it can symbolize strength through unity, like the 13 tiers on the U.S. seal representing the original colonies building something together. But in Illuminati lore, it's all about hierarchy. The few at the top controlling the masses at the bottom. And of course, the Egyptian pharaohs used pyramids to assert their divine authority. So that idea of hierarchy is baked in historically too.
It's like they're tapping into these really old, powerful images. What about the pentagram? That one seems to have a split personality.
It really does. For esoteric groups like the Golden Dawn or Rosicrucians, the upright pentagram often symbolizes spirit ruling over the four elements: earth, air, fire, water, used in protection rituals, spiritual development stuff. But the inverted one, point down, got strongly linked with occultism, Satanism, especially through images like the Sigil of Baphomet. It's a clear example of taking a symbol and flipping its meaning.
So intent and context are everything. And the checkerboard pattern, I associate that with Freemasonry too.
Yes. The black and white checkered floor is important in Masonic ritual. It often represents the pavement of Solomon's temple, symbolizing life's dualities, good devil, light dark, joy sorrow. On a deeper level, it can represent the journey towards balancing the material and the spiritual. But again, some conspiracy theories grab onto it and link it to things like mind control paradigms.
It's like once a symbol is out there, it takes on a life of its own and can be used in so many ways.
Totally. And groups like the Rosicrucians developed incredibly dense symbolic systems related to alchemy. Hexagrams representing the union of soul and spirit, elemental crosses for balancing inner forces. These diagrams are like visual maps of complex philosophies.
Sounds like secret keys, almost. Unlocking layers of meaning for those in the know.
That's a good way to put it. But symbols aren't just hidden away. They've been used very publicly in architecture for centuries, encoding power, spirituality, societal values for everyone to see, even if subconsciously.
Right, you look at grand buildings and they definitely feel like they're communicating something.
For sure. Take Washington, D.C. L'Enfant's plan used sacred geometry deliberately, reflecting Enlightenment ideals. The Capitol building is a symbolic center, the radial streets like ancient Rome, suggesting order, authority. The dome, modeled on the Pantheon, symbolically elevating democratic authority.
And the National Mall, the Lincoln Memorial, the Washington Monument. Intentional symbolism there, too.
Oh, absolutely. The layout hints at a five-pointed star. The Lincoln Memorial, inspired by the Greek Acropolis, forms a triangle with the Washington Monument maybe suggesting strength, stability. Even the neoclassical style of many buildings evokes Roman grandeur. But then you see little details like corn cobs on Capitol columns kind of Americanizing the classical.
Like the city itself is a symbolic text telling a story about America. What about religious buildings? Gothic cathedrals always feel so intentionally awe-inspiring.
They absolutely were. Masterpieces of engineering and theology, the soaring height, the pointed arches all designed to draw your eyes upward, symbolize reaching for the divine. The stained glass wasn't just decoration, it was divine light. And the pictures taught Bible stories to people who couldn't read. Even the gargoyles were symbolic, partly functional drains, partly protectors, warding off evil.
So every piece had a purpose, a meaning. What about Vatican City? I imagine that's packed with symbolism.
Absolutely. St. Peter's Basilica, Michelangelo's dome bridging earth and heaven, the Latin cross layout, Bernini's baldachin emphasizing apostolic succession, the Sistine Chapel, proportioned like Solomon's temple, framing papal authority within the biblical narrative. Even the layout separating administrative and contemplative areas can mirror the divine and mortal.
It's fascinating how you see recurring themes, geometry, light, classical references across different power structures.
Exactly. Circles for order, light for transcendence, classical styles for legitimacy. It's a visual language shaping how we see power and faith.
Really makes you look at buildings differently. But okay, symbolism isn't just ancient history or massive architecture. It's everywhere now, especially in logos and branding.
Oh, big time. Modern logos are experts at embedding psychological symbols, tapping into archetypes to connect with us subconsciously. Shape, color, negative space. It's all carefully chosen.
Give us some examples. I'm always curious about logo secrets.
Okay, FedEx.
Yeah.
Simple name, right? But look between the E and X. There's a hidden arrow pointing right.
Whoa, I see it now.
Yeah. It subtly reinforces speed, efficiency, moving forward. The purple suggests trust. The orange, maybe urgency. It fits the hero archetype reliable, gets the job done.
That's brilliant. What about Amazon?
The arrow from A to Z obviously suggests they sell everything.
Yeah.
But it also forms a smile curve.
Ah, the smile.
Right. Subconsciously links shopping with satisfaction, happiness. The orange feels warm, accessible. It aligns with the everyman archetype for everybody.
Makes sense. And Apple's bitten apple. So much speculation there.
Loads. Links to the tree of knowledge, pursuit of knowledge, maybe rebellion, maybe a nod to Alan Turing and the cyanide apple, though that's unconfirmed. Represents disruptive innovation. Brand-wise, they often embody the magician archetype, making tech feel intuitive, almost magical. And the minimalist design fits the creator archetype focused on artistry, function.
Like tiny visual stories. What about the Starbucks siren?
She's from maritime myth, temptation, allure, drawing you in. They even made her face slightly asymmetrical in the redesign to feel more human. And the green suggests growth, calm, nature. It fits the caregiver archetype, creating that comforting community coffee shop feel.
Even Toyota's logo, those ellipses aren't just random, right?
Supposedly not. They form a stylized T, but also represent three hearts: the customer, the product, technology. The outer circle implies global reach, unity. Fits the explorer archetype, maybe? Red for energy, silver for modernity.
Wow. The amount of thought that goes into these everyday images is kind of mind-blowing.
It really is. They use subconscious priming, tap into archetypes for emotional connection, use color psychology. They want to be more than just logos. They want to be cultural shortcuts for values and feelings.
And this brings us right back to Jung and his ideas about the symbolic mind, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Jung's theories help explain why these symbols can hit so deep. That idea of a collective unconscious, inherited patterns, archetypes. It provides a framework,
So archetypes are like recurring characters or themes in the human story.
pretty much. Think of myths that pop up everywhere, flood stories, hero journeys. Jung saw these as expressions of universal themes from that shared unconscious. Even common dream stuff falling, being chased, he thought, stemmed from these deep-seated archetypal patterns. They're like the underlying structure shaping our experiences.
Can we dig into a few key archetypes, like the shadow?
Sure, the shadow is basically the stuff about ourselves we repress or deny. Our dark side may be aggression, selfishness, but also maybe hidden talents. Trickster figures in myths often embody this Loki, coyote. In dreams, facing a dark figure might represent confronting your shadow, which Jung saw as crucial for growth, integrating all of yourself.
Makes sense. Acknowledging the messy bits. What about the self archetype?
The self is the archetype of wholeness, unity, the goal of psychological development, integrating conscious and unconscious. Symbols like mandalas, those intricate circles, represent this. Divine figures embodying completeness. Even that Apple logo with its tension of knowledge versus temptation could echo the self's journey.
And the anima animus, the sort of inner opposite gender.
Exactly. Anima is the unconscious feminine in men, might appear in dreams as nurturing figures, or seductive or destructive ones. Animus is the unconscious masculine in women, maybe assertive, rational figures, or aggressive ones. Myths like Psyche and Eros explore these inner dynamics.
So these aren't just abstract ideas. They actively shape our dreams, how we see the world, how we react to symbols.
That was Jung's view. Archetypes structure our inner narratives. The hero archetype fuels dreams of overcoming obstacles, echoing epic myths. The mother archetype appears as both nurturing goddesses and terrifying witches, reflecting the duality of that principle. He believed these symbols resonate universally because they tap into these fundamental psychic circuits we all share.
It's a powerful way to understand why certain stories and symbols stick with us for so long. And speaking of stories, media and pop culture are just saturated with symbolism.
Oh, completely. Film, music videos,
Yeah.
they use symbols constantly to add layers, work on our subconscious, deepen the story.
Movies are great examples. They're often full of visual cues.
Totally. Think The Matrix, light versus dark visuals, constantly reinforcing awakening versus ignorance. The sunglasses symbolize seeing the real world, having power over perception. Zion is a symbol of a utopian ideal, freedom.
And Inception, all about layers of reality, the subconscious.
Absolutely. That spinning top, such a potent symbol of doubt, questioning reality, both for the characters and for us. And the maze-like dream architecture visually represents the complex hidden depths of the mind.
Even a film like Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut, Beneath the Surface story, the masquerade imagery felt very symbolic.
Definitely. Those masks, the secret society stuff,
Yeah.
powerfully exploring trust, hidden desires, the difference between public personas and private selves. It's unsettling.
Like the visuals are constantly talking alongside the dialogue, and music videos are such a rich playground for symbols now.
Hugely. Artists use them to amplify lyrics, create metaphors, make social commentary. Lil Nas X using religious icons subversively. Taylor Swift hacking videos with self-references about her public image. Or The Weeknd using surreal visuals like those prosthetics, maybe commenting on emotional masks or celebrity.
And sometimes it's really obvious, other times it's way more open to interpretation.
Exactly. Some artists explain their symbols, like Selena Gomez and the Moths representing resilience. Others, like Tame Impala, use more abstract visuals that invite you to find your own meaning. And then you have things like alleged backmasking and music hidden messages, sparking debates about subliminal intent.
It seems like the power is in that mix of creator intent and audience interpretation.
Precisely. Drawing on archetypes and cultural symbols lets creators connect universally while still allowing for personal meaning-making.
This really highlights how much meaning is packed into the media we consume. So how can we get better at noticing and decoding symbols in our own lives?
There's some neat techniques. Jung's active imagination is one, kind of like meditating on symbols that pop into your head or dreams, journaling about recurring images, animals, numbers, exploring your associations with them.
Like having a deliberate chat with your subconscious.
Kind of, yeah. Another way is consciously using sacred geometry. maybe drawing mandalas, noticing Fibonacci spirals as a mindfulness practice, connecting with perceived underlying patterns.
I know people find those patterns really grounding.
They can be. And then there's synchronicity tracking, keeping a journal of meaningful coincidences, repeating numbers, seemingly linked events, trying to spot themes or patterns in your own life.
Paying closer attention to the random stuff and looking for connections.
Exactly. And maybe, most importantly, critical thinking. Don't just accept a symbol's surface meaning. Ask, why this symbol? Who's using it? What might they mean? Like seeing a snake logo, is it transformation?
Yeah.
Healing? Or something sneakier? Actively questioning is key.
Right, not just passively absorbing. Engage with it.
Definitely. And you see the power of this in real life, both good and bad. Some people feel really empowered finding meaning in synchronicities, feeling guided. But that same pattern-seeking drive can lead down conspiracy rabbit holes, like the QAnon stuff around the Suez Canal blockage, seeing hidden plots in shipping routes. That's illusory pattern perception.
Yeah, that shows how easily it can go wrong.
Totally. We have biases, confirmation bias, seeing patterns where there aren't any apophenia. Social media algorithms can even feed these false connections.
So how do we find the balance? Be open to insight, but stay skeptical.
Context is crucial. Why here? Why now? Who benefits? Analyzing the situation helps separate intended meaning from our own projections, and mindful engagement. Notice recurring symbols, maybe note them down, but don't jump to conclusions immediately. Let patterns emerge more clearly over time. Maybe use a checklist. Is there actual evidence supporting this interpretation?
It sounds like developing symbol literacy is a really vital skill today.
I think so. Being aware of the power and pitfalls helps us use our pattern spotting skills for growth and critical thinking, while hopefully avoiding the traps of misinformation.
This has been incredibly insightful. As we wrap up, any final thoughts on the enduring power of symbols?
Well, there are some great quotes. Gene Wolfe said, "We believe that we invent symbols. The truth is that they invent us." Siena Gesson called them visible signs of invisible realities. Ta-Nehisi Coates said, "There is nothing mere about symbols. They're the stuff of culture." And Jung saw them as living entities, bridging conscious and unconscious.
Wow. They really emphasize that symbols actively shape us and our reality.
Exactly. Philosophically, Jung's archetypes show their deep roots. Nelson Goodman's idea of world-making suggests symbols literally help construct our reality. Others see them bridging material and spiritual, or encoding cosmic harmony like in sacred geometry.
And we see this playing out everywhere. Cultural identity symbols like Adinkra in West Africa, everyday cues like traffic signs, the evolution of digital language with emojis.
Precisely. So developing that symbol literacy we talked about is key. It empowers self-discovery and critical thinking, but also helps us spot manipulation or avoid conspiracy traps. Like Goodman said, a symbol system is a version of the world. Understanding symbols helps us navigate that world with more imagination and discernment, seeing the connections between the seen and unseen.
Well, we've reached the end of this particular deep dive into the world of symbols. We really hope it sparked some insights, maybe a few aha moments for you, helping you see that hidden language all around us.
Yet just becoming more aware of these symbolic shortcuts, their layers of meaning. It can be a genuinely powerful tool for understanding yourself and the world a bit better.
Absolutely. We'd encourage you to keep exploring the symbols you encounter day to day. Just pause and ask yourself, what does this mean to me? What connections pop up? You might be surprised.
And if you enjoyed this deep dive and you want to explore more thought-provoking stuff with us, please do like, share it with someone you think might dig it, and subscribe or follow My Mind MashUps.
Yep, we've got lots more planned, and your support really makes it possible. Again, you can find us on Amazon Music, Audible, Facebook, Pocket Casts, Spotify, and YouTube.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next Deep Dive.